Hello and welcome. You're watching NewsX. I am Rishabh Gulati. Data. This is what we are told is every acronym, moniker, sobriquet or metaphor and simile you can think of. It's the new oil, it's the new gold. And yes, it is valuable. All of us, even when we are sitting idle, are producing data. Our phones are swarming on it and trillion-dollar companies have been formed relying on it. What happens with this data is going to be a large part the definition of the next 30, 40, 100 years. This data and the troves of it that are going to be created with the Internet of Things and 5G is going to define all the learnings that machine learning and artificial intelligence will and are already applying. So where do we fit into a national contest? We need to be thinking big. Not just about India. We need to be thinking, what are the measures that we can put in place to unleash Team India, its entrepreneurs and wealth creators, to create an environment where we are not only servicing the needs of data that are germinating from 1.4 billion of us in this country, but from all over the globe, for which we need the physical infrastructure of having huge servers that are not measured in bytes and terabytes, but measured in watts and megawatts and gigawatts. We have the talent, we have the ability, it's just the few puzzle pieces that need to be put into place, and a data revolution is not only coming, it's pretty much always already here. We had this conversation about a year ago. Since then, a lot of water has flown under the bridge. India is hopefully on the verge of figuring out how to manufacture semiconductors, which would mean manufacturing the servers and the hardware that goes into these mammoth data centers. Some of the companies who are represented in this telecast, which we are doing in association with ASSOCHAM, are investing thousands of crores into data centers as we speak. There is a huge demand and there is a supply that is catching up. We are in the middle of defining what our laws and policies are going to be, and getting that right at the outset is going to be the definition of companies here and abroad wanting to locate their data here. Making sure that we are cost competitive is going to be the difference between data centers in India ruling the global market or not. So how do we do it? Let's have that conversation. Let me take the opportunity now to introduce all our guests. We have with us on the broadcast Darshan Hiranandani. He is chairman of the ASSOCHAM National Council on Data Centers. Kalyan Mupaneni ji, he is founder and CEO of Pi Data Centers. We also have Sunil Gupta, co-founder and CEO of Yotta Infrastructure. Nikhil Rathi, founder and CEO of WebWorks, is on the broadcast with us. Manoj Paul, managing director of Equinix India, is with us. And Sridhar Pinnapureddy, chairman of Control S and Cloud4C, all joining us on the broadcast. Gentlemen, good evening and a very warm welcome to you. Thank you for taking out the time on discussing such an important subject. We don't realize in the midst of all our policy and politic debates that we have, that you, the wealth creators, have to define where India is headed. Darshanji, if I can begin with you. I mentioned at the beginning, we talk about data as the new oil and this and that. What is it in real terms? Where do you see the domestic opportunity or the global pie?
Overall, today, the Indian market has about 500 megawatts of data centers. Next 4 or 5 years, that's going to grow to 2,500. So 5 times from where we are. That extra 2,000 will end up costing about 1 lakh crores worth of data centers. And that's just the beginning. And that's just Indian demand. And if we provide Indian demand well, and all the people on this show are really good at creating world-class cost-effective demand, global demand will also show up at our doorstep. So if we can serve our own people well, and if we can give value to 1.4 billion people, we can give value to the 5 billion others.
Okay, so we are talking about giving value, and potentially it's the realization of sparking the imagination of people that the data centers in India are the obvious choice, not because the law mandates it, because they're going to provide you the best services and best capabilities, and that's you guys running, of course, the biggest data centers in this country and expanding, as I mentioned, into the thousands of crores. The obvious next question is, how do we get the puzzle pieces of infrastructure right? Kalyan Mupaneni ji, let's begin with the basics. we are talking about data centers, raw consumption is power. The world is talking about how to convert that power green. How do we produce green power? Have we put the puzzle pieces? Because I know some of the Indian companies are building the largest solar parks in the world, in Tamil Nadu, in Gujarat, in Rajasthan. But connecting that to where you are running your data centers so that we can hit some 80-90% of green power goals, how is that going to be done?
Yeah, it's as you said, Rishabh, data centers consume power. Majority of the operating cost is power. And as Darshan said, it's the consumption is going to get into not just hundreds of gigawatts, megawatts, but into gigawatts, right? So it's high time that we really take a serious look at it. And to your question, are we really leveraging our green energy infrastructure in the country for data centers today? The answer is necessarily not yes, it's no. I think there are bits and pieces, small bits and pieces here, but I think that doesn't necessarily solve the problem, right? So we need to look at how can we divert this power, the solar power that's being fed to the grid, to the locations where the data centers are. Data centers are located throughout the country in many different places. So open access is very, very important, right? So all states, especially that are supporting data centers, we need to make sure that including that last mile, there is access so that the data centers can draw power through this open access system. However, there is another challenge because you only have 8 hours a day, and that too if you are lucky if it's not raining, right? So it's very important in this aspect, banking be allowed so that a maximum of up to 80 to 90% of power can be drawn through alternate sources of energy like solar, because otherwise, you just consume whatever is produced during the day, so it becomes very difficult and sustainable. And with where the data centers are going and the kind of consumption that's going to increase, it's highly important that we implement some of these policies in open access and banking so that the data centers be green and sustainable for the future.
Okay, so you're literally saying we need to have, if you're building the solar power parks and the wind power parks, you need to have the battery banks that are going to stay there so that you can certifiably say that you're using 24/7 of green power. Sunil Gupta, I know you are on an aggressive expansion spree. You guys are pumping in thousands of crores. You're betting big on this, and the bet you make, of course, is a bet going into Indian infrastructure. The same bet has to be made now on 5G, and with 5G, the Internet of Things, sir. Are you seeing, is it going to be a curve which is going to grow linearly, or are you going to see a massive explosion in the next few months and years when it comes to how much data is generated everywhere?
Thanks, Rishabh. If I give you some statistics, there are 4.66 billion people who are connected to internet worldwide, which is about 60% of the world population who are using internet in one or the other form. But even today, there are 24 billion devices and sensors which are connected to internet, even while the real-time use cases of IoT, AI, ML with 5G enablement are yet to come in. Once we have got those use cases, once we have got 5G widely deployed, once we have startup ecosystems start developing more and more use cases of consumption of IoT generated data from sensors and AI ML algorithms processing it, the amount of data which will be generated by these devices will be just humongous. Right now, the devices are, there's no limit to what type of data you can collect from the equipment where the sensors are connected, right? It's up to you, up to your imagination, what all you want to really process in data, what type of analytics you want to bring in that. And more data you get it, you need more data centers. More and more analytics you do and more decision making you do, again, you need more and more data centers, more and more analytics, more and more storage, and more computing. Many of this computing possibly may reside in the device itself in case of connected cars and things like this, where the latency has to be extremely microsecond. It might not come into data center, but majority of this compute ultimately will have to come into edges, which are very, very for latency specific, sensitive data. And many of that will ultimately travel into hyperscale data centers for a post analytics to improve the algorithm further and to further improve this.
No, hang on. Can you just interpret that? So you're saying edges means that there are smaller data centers much closer to the source so that you can improve latency time, and then you have back-end hyperscale data centers. Is that what you're roughly saying, sir?
Absolutely. It will be a complementary relationship between small data centers in the nooks and corners of the country, complemented by hyperscale data center at some specific strategic places.
Okay, and so that means it's not just about the physical infrastructure at the data center, but that also means we will soon have to be figuring out interconnectivity, and we'll have that conversation through the course of this. But let me get the CEO of WebWorks into this. Nikhil Rathi, as we are speaking, right? I mean, the past 1 year and the time that has passed, we are figuring out laws and policies. We haven't figured out all of them. Where are we on that chain, and what do we need to get right to begin with?
Yeah, thanks. So I think in terms of policy, I think the government is trying to ensure that they provide us the incentives and also the single window clearances and stuff that is required, because there are so many clearances that a data center actually needs to move ahead, right from the land permits right down to the electricity and all of that. So the government, the regional state governments as well as the central government are coming out with policies with respect to providing us these incentives and to also give us certain subsidies or advantages in terms of electricity and other things like Kalyan mentioned on the green part of it as well. However, there's also some level of regulatory that's also going to be coming in, which is what they're contemplating, and that is something that should not be there probably. And I think what's more important is to drive and make sure that this is a free market play, and rather than have any kind of government, the government should give the benefits, right, and should not come with a carrot and a stick. So I think there's good movement on that. However, there are different departments who'd like to make sure that they have a say in this, because there is telecom involvement. So the Department of Telecom or other departments would want to get involved in the data center say, even though the telcos are already pretty much regulated. So I think that's where the policy stands, and that's where the the movement is from the government side. And what we're hoping is that we get the subsidies, we get the incentives, and there's a lot of free market players allowed, because there's a lot of unsatiated demand. Right? If you look at 1.4 billion people and the amount of stuff that's happening, it's very critical that we get off the ground and we become really, really a data center hub in the world, right? And host global content.
And of course, we talk about data sovereignty, and the current definition of data sovereignty is keeping data within your territorial boundaries. Okay, but data sovereignty also is defined by who owns the data. Now, let's say a foreign company wants to park its data in India. We need to figure that out, that they have comfort and security that. I know government has reasonable case in certain circumstances, but that should be very rarest of rare, not a day-to-day thing. And we'll pick on that in just a bit also. Let me, invite Manoj Paul into this conversation as well. Manoj, obviously, I think there's a consensus that this is a huge industry. I mean, we are talking at the, we are literally at the tip of it. Sky is the limit. What are the factors, sir, that you see driving the growth?
Well, thanks, Rishabh. Darshan mentioned that this is a phenomenally growing data center industry. Today, we are having a revenue of around $1.3 billion. And if you see, we are the 8th largest data center industry in the world. And we were 9th largest, we've become 8th largest. And if you take 2 or 3 more years, the growth that we are going to see in the next 2-3 years will be the 6th largest data center industry in the whole world. And there have been a lot of drivers. And as somebody mentioned earlier, we have 750 smartphones, and each of these smartphones is consuming 13 GB per month, and that is growing by 20-25% year on year. So that is going to drive a lot of consumption. But at the same time, you see that the OTTs are also generating a lot of data consumption. Today, India is the only country, I think, which has 40 OTTs, apart from the international ones like the Netflix and the Hotstar, Disney. But there are other regional ones which have come up, and they are doing very well. They are getting subscribers, and they are creating a lot of buzz, increasing their revenue also. In fact, a good nice statistics would be for all the users, all the listeners, is that Hotstar created a sort of a world record with 25 million simultaneous users logged in for the India-New Zealand match during the World Cup, and no other event anywhere in the world has ever clocked in that number. So Indian data growth is phenomenal. It's going in a very different rate altogether. But it's not only about the consumers, but also the industries, the small, medium, large industries are into a digital journey. And Rishabh, you know that India is very good is big in startups. Today we are ranked number 3 as far as the number of unicorns are concerned after China and USA.
Yes.
We added some 20-25 unicorns in the last 1 year itself. And all these enterprises who are going the digital way and these startups, they are relying heavily on cloud. And this cloud services is growing massively in the country. And today, if you see the statistics, around 43 to 45% of the total data center space that is in production today is being used by the cloud service providers. But if you see the last 2 years, a majority of the absorption has been by this cloud service provider, which is driving the growth. But going forward, if you see, the real growth is going to come from international markets. And that's what Darshan also mentioned earlier. We need to draw a parallel with the Indian IT services industry. If you see the IT and services industry, out of the $200 billion revenue that they generate, $150 billion comes from international market and $50 billion from Indian market.
Okay.
And it's because of this that they have become so big and they have got the muscle power. And today, out of the top 10, 3 Indian companies figure as far as the market capitalization is concerned. So Indian data center industry also.
Yeah, I mean, right here sitting on this panel, I think this is one of the rare occasions where multi-billion dollars of data investment can be measured right here amongst all of you guys and growing. But this is the thing, right? It's not about the investment, it's about creating the ecosystem and the environment. The data center can't work if the telecom interconnectivity and government policy and law and all of them don't figure this out. So let me pick this up with Sridharji. Sridharji, now, you've gone through the JLL reports, sir. They are already talking about a $3.7 billion opportunity. I'm sure it's much higher than that. 6 million square feet of real estate development, just in the sheer rack capacity that you guys are going to be adding. What are the reforms required, sir, for addressing the infrastructural challenges and accelerating the pace of data centers? Yeah, Sridharji, if you could unmute yourself as you start, please.
So, as I said in the morning, like roti, kapda or makan, data centers need land, power and fiber. And so the message to the government in terms of reforms requires quite simple: make land available, develop land, pre-develop land if possible, so that all data centers can get access to not just the land, but water, power, which are required. And in terms of power, all our customers are demanding sustainable, green power. We must make sure, if you want global customers, if you want the Fortune 10, Fortune 20 customers, we must make sure that there is abundant green power available in the country. Without that, I'm afraid to say that many corporates are likely to shift their workloads out from India. And if, on the contrary, if you make them available, then many more the other country workloads are also likely to come to India. In terms of fiber, most of the fiber assets have been invested during the last 20-30 years, whereas and built for voice networks primarily in the country. I believe that many of those assets are not useful in the new age, gigabits, terabits of data transportation which we need.
Okay, so let me ask you specific on that, Sridharji. So what is the specific intervention at a government level? Now you guys are doing, you are Team India, eventually you have to build this industry. Government isn't going to build it for you. But at the government level, the interventions on connectivity and network, what is required?
For example, telecom. We need new age fiber providers. We need fiber, interrupted fiber connecting all large cities of India. NHAI or power grids can make it a lot more available.
Okay.
New infrastructure providers licenses can be given, and most importantly, bring in a uniform green power policy. Today, every state has its own laws around how much we can build solar power, how much can we transport, and from where we can do it. And it's highly confusing. Not only that, most of the projects are facing a lot of regulatory legal hurdles. So the government, the simple thing that they could do is make green power available, or the green power providers facilitate, their issues.
Okay, I think that's a recurring theme that a lot of people have mentioned, and it's fascinating because if customers are demanding green power, then that's a competitive advantage that needs to exist. Manoj ji, at the beginning, and this is the hope, right, that India is not just does not just have the ability to be Atmanirbhar on data, but you are serving an export-oriented logic where you're bringing in customers from all over the world. So what are the factors that you see that make sense for global customers to look at India?
Well, Rishabh, I would like to start off with the green power piece itself. So while there are challenges in distribution of this green power, but let's take the situation that today we are producing 98 gigawatt of green power. And this industry, as Darshanji mentioned, that needs 2 gigawatt of power in the next 2 or 3 years. So we have enough of green power within the country. It's just a question of how do you bank it and how do you distribute it. And that should be a big, big plus for the country because we have the green power. It just needs to be ensured that, okay, we deliver it to the data centers, the right place, the right time for 24/7. What are the other things that are going in favor of the Indian data center industry is that the power itself. I mean, today, if we compare India versus some of the other neighboring countries, the countries which have become the hub for the South Asia, like the Singapore and Hong Kong, power rates are pretty competitive. And some of the states have really given some benefits in terms of power electricity waiver. And after that, the power rates are quite competitive, I would say. And as long as we keep the power rates to that level, I think we will be competitive. In terms of land, availability of land is pretty effective. What is going to really help the data center industry is if we can have the manufacturing of the components within India being encouraged. And that is going to be big. And that has already started to some extent. Today, even now, some of the large transformers, generators, and UPSs are already getting manufactured. But as this industry grows bigger and we start catering to the international market, this industry is also going to grow big. And very soon, we might see a situation where these companies will not only start manufacturing to cater to the Indian data center markets, they will gain the scale to be able to export to the other markets also sooner than later. And that is what is really going to give an impetus to the whole, not only Atmanirbhar, but Make in India drive.
Yeah, I remember having this conversation with Darshanji as well. So this is not just about data. This is about all the ancillaries, hardware that go into data. So it's about the gen sets, it's about the battery banks, it's about creating the physical racks, the fiber optic cable, all of that somebody has to make, and you're bang on. That's going to be a massive, massive game changer. Just stay with me, sir. Let me take the opportunity to get Nikhil back. And Nikhil, we are working on a precept of minimum government, maximum governance. Okay, where does that fit into the data center logic?
Right. So in terms of minimum government, right, like I mentioned earlier, I think maximum governance means you give all the benefits. Minimum government means you do not police it. And maximum governance also, like adding to Sridhar's, add-on is if at the local level, if we need telecom, right, you need to basically make sure that you design the roads to take the fiber in. You need to make sure that the roads have left and right and, great fiber paths. I think that is maximum governance. That is actually governance to the max, right, rather than maximum governance. So one part, apart from all the green that we've already spoken about, I think minimum government, government will be that we do not police, we don't kill the, the data center, the ebbing, the, just now, which is just born, the newborn data center industry that's taking shape. We must also remember that Singapore, right, as a state, right, has not allowed data centers to grow because of their limitations, right? They're having land controls and other stuff. So you can see the government has controlled the data center growth over there. We have an opportunity to be number one, even ahead of the United States, because we have 1.4 billion people versus 500 million in the United States. Yeah. So I think the government should take note of all of that.
Okay,
and that's what it.
And of course, the logic is to get out of the way. The reason, ladies and gentlemen, London is still a financial hub because a large part of the international transactions that take place, the Bank of England and the government of Britain says, if there are international transactions, we are going to keep out of your way. Now, there is some reasonable oversight, but then, of course, mostly in a highly regulated industry. I mean, talk about land, water, power. All this is a problem for data centers because these are all complicated regulation. I don't know how many licenses these guys need to take just to get started. So we need to make sure that the free flow of data takes place, and that also is going to be the main cost and competitive advantage for this. So Sunil ji, Now, I began by asking you about this explosion in demand. Where are we in that demand and supply curve? Are we seeing it? Are you guys seeing it? Which is why you're thinking that, look, we need to create the excess capacity.
Well, we don't realize it that we are using internet just for the last 25 years, as a whole world, right? It has just entered our life just for 25 years back. So from a situation of no demand for data centers in late 90s to a little bit of demand coming from a dot-com boom, which became a doom, to enterprise adoption, to gradually 3G, 4G coming in, e-commerce coming in our lives and things like that. Today, the demand, which has suddenly come up in 2013-14 onwards, is majorly spurred by cloud adoption and entry of large cloud operators in India. We as an industry possibly were making a 6 megawatt, 8 megawatt data center till 2014, and we used to be pretty happy about it. We used to sell it over 4 years. Today, we are making data centers the size of 5,000 racks with 25 megawatt, and we still feel it is small. We should make campuses because, and even after doing that, which we as a collectively as industry are doing, the demand is still exceeding what the supply is. Presumably, while there is a whole lot of new operators, the supply side, a whole lot of new announcements have come, possibly all the largest possible global operators have come in India. They have announced large plans. The existing operators who are there in India, they obviously are ramping up. They have got access to capital relationships and they are ramping up. Local conglomerates, including Yotta, including Adani's, everybody is announcing big plans. So supply is catching up, possibly all the supply which has been announced, possibly it start coming 2023-24 onwards, and we'll see some point where the demand start getting matched by supply, possibly oversupply and then leading to price pressures and bloodbath at that time. All these things are going to have an interplay constantly. So supply, demand will keep on having its own smooth
Okay, but
curve.
as things stand, here and now, you feel the market is undersupplied, grossly.
Absolutely. And I think for the next 7 to 10 years, despite a huge bit of supply coming in steps, I feel on average.
So if we buy into the logic of a free market, then we have to welcome, foreign investment. But I want you guys to win. I mean, we got to back Team India first, right? So we have to make sure that the foreign guys are not coming in with cheaper capital at 1% interest abroad, where my companies are spending 6.5%, 8%, 9%, 10%, 12%. It doesn't make sense. So that is a free market. It's not just about foreign investment. Kalyanji, competition globally means that we have to be cost competitive. We can get all sorts of logics in right and infrastructure and get you the green power. But if your, per storage cost or per transaction request cost or per hour cost, however guys you measure, however you bill your companies, if it's not cost competitive, all of this can go out the window. How do we become cost competitive?
I think some of these points were touched. I think like Sridhar and Manoj and Nikhil were saying earlier, the components, right? The comment that Sridhar wrote, roti, kapda or makan, I like that. So if you look at it, right, the components are land, equipment, power and fiber. These are the main components. So when it comes to land, right, see, I'm always a big proponent of building data centers in tier 2 and tier 3 cities. And that's what we have done actually. But I think we need to do more of that instead of straining our infrastructure more and more on top of what we already have, including, running a short length of fiber in some places gets extremely expensive and in some cases not even feasible. So the cost goes very high. So we need to encourage that the data centers go outside of our tier 1 cities, go to tier 2 and tier 3 cities. So the land becomes, inexpensive. You have open access power, easy fiber paths, because India today, all said and done, compared to a decade ago or even 5 years ago, the fiber is connected end to end and you are getting fantastic latencies. And as Manoj was saying, Hotstar created records, and Hotstar wasn't watched just in tier 1 cities, it was watched in remote villages. So that's a testimony of how fiber has penetrated. So now that the fiber has penetrated, I think things can move to tier 2 and tier 3 cities. And then that's the land thing. The second point is on the equipment. We need to look at, in the short term, we need to look at reducing duties, right? We are talking about Make in India, but manufacturing components, manufacturing the actual, assembling the whole servers and network equipment, we're a bit out there. It takes some more time. So we need to look at reducing the duty and the taxes, right? And finally, the fiber cost. The cost has come down, the bandwidth cost. But I think we should still look at opportunities there, how to pool this bandwidth.
Okay. So on land, obviously there's a market value on land. There's X you can do about it. Power, you can make a lot cheaper. Banking it makes it far more effective.
Yes.
Certainly, cost of capital is a huge thing, and until we can make all of this equipment here, we need to then able to import it a bit cheaper to make this happen. The equipment is going to have a value, but the data on the equipment is also going to have a value. Now, if you don't have the equipment in the first place, data on the equipment doesn't exist. That's the secondary market opportunity here. Darshanji, so let's look at it from the point of view that all the unicorns we are creating, and you guys are the older unicorns. Within this, you guys are going to hopefully dominate that market space. But globally, what do we need in terms of law and policy for us to become, to really compete in the global space?
Okay, so on that point, today we don't have any data protection laws. So for example, the EU doesn't consider us a data secure destination. So any EU data can't come to India. So it's important that India treats data as something that is like the Supreme Court has said, it's a constitutional right, privacy, protection, regulation around how data is collected, stored, processed, managed, and looked after and destroyed. That whole process has to be of a global standard. That's the most important thing. If it's at a global standard for Indians, it is at a global standard for people internationally, and that global good practice standard, and we can call it an Indian standard, as long as it's a very good standard, globally acceptable one, the world will store here. That's point number one I wanted to make. Second point I wanted to make, and I'm going to pick apart Nikhilji's point for a minute. Honestly, we actually, if you think about it, we are building very efficient data centers. Data center construction is not the problem. We are all talking about, we are like a mobile phone tower, right? So we are building good towers, they're efficient towers, everything is great. There is no regulation of the tower. Okay, there is normal, you take the clearance for the diesel and you're so many meters away from the building and all that, that's fine. But there's no Department of Telecom controlling the tower. So we don't need a Department of Telecom controlling our data center. Data will be regulated. The data of the ISP and the fiber will be regulated. The actual infrastructure need not be regulated at all. But what we are begging for is only efficiency. What we are saying is, green power is being generated, efficiently give it to us. We are saying we need components. 80% of our data center is domestic components. That 20% that is imported, create policies to incentivize those. Don't mess around with the data center. We don't need another data center policy. We don't need a new law for data centers. Make law for server chips. As I say, server chips, if data centers are 1 lakh crore opportunity, servers is a 2 lakh crore opportunity. If data center construction is a 1 lakh crore opportunity, 2,000 megawatts of green, which means double 4,000 if you need to bank it, or you need to do pump storage hydro, 4,000 into 7 crores or whatever cost per megawatt it is now, is another 50,000 crore opportunity. Make that, incentivize it, make that happy. Okay, third bit that people are not talking about. We'll have all this data coming. Why should it only be stored on an AWS or a Google Cloud or a this? Today, China has an Ali Cloud. France has an OVH Cloud. We need to incentivize domestic cloud, guys. It's OpenStack, code in Bangalore, code wherever in India, create our own good cloud ecosystem. Why export even those dollars? That's services income in India. So what we want is, our data centers are fine. It's actually all the stuff that's coming to our data centers that needs focus and attention and cleaning up.
Okay, no, you spoke about the hardware and server opportunity in this. So let me pick on an obvious point. If you are a massive company generating troves of data, let's say you're a mobile phone company, all right, and you're generating troves of data, but you're not based out of India, right? Or you are based, some customers are based out of India, and the Indian government wants you to store the data here. What is the hesitancy that we need to get in policy right, that when my data goes to India, it's still my data? How do I sort that out?
So the new law, what I've seen of the draft of it, it says that whoever the person, the data principal is the end user. Whether the end user is a foreigner, the end user is an Indian, it doesn't matter. We treat the data principal as the key person. The person who sends their data, so let's say, for example, just to explain the law a little bit, the person who sends their data is the data fiduciary. So they have collected the data of that user. There may be a bank, there may be a mobile phone company, there may be YouTube who's collecting video content that's created. They are the data fiduciary. We may end up being, not us as we are only data center providers, we provide the skin, but AI companies, processing companies, little tools, widgets, they become data processors. And those data processors also will have to comply with certain obligations. So if the data principal is treated at a very high standard, the data fiduciary has a rigid regime, the data processor has a rigid regime, and the law comes out unequivocally and cleanly. And really, we are not talking about government being able to just interfere at a whim and a fancy, and there's a proper code of law and a method to the madness. I think the world's our oyster and they'll be happy.
Okay, so we are not totally off kilter. The logic is in the right direction. Of course, it's in the fine print that we need to get it right. And getting this right is huge. Okay, now
Correct.
I know the popular conversation is just about making sure that Indian data stays in India. And it's an important conversation. Okay, now these guys sitting here are going to build the capacity for Indian data to stay in India. But we are saying we are not stopping there. We want global data to be stationed out of India. And then those countries and governments and companies are going to have the same concern that our data is held elsewhere. So we need to alleviate those concerns by meeting some global standards. So there is some logic in that. Kalyanji, now a fundamental question here is, I mentioned this, free market is a great thing. And I think all of you guys are believers in it, right? We talked about minimum government and maximum governance. But we have sorry if I can use a Hindi colloquium, a ghar ki murgi dal barabar issue here in this country, right? We keep looking that, some Elon Musk will come and make electric cars, but we can do it ourselves. We keep looking for somebody else to come and do it for us. We already have you guys. And the fundamental concern that Indian players tell me is, we have great companies back home. Now, how do I create an environment where Team India is leading the way, open to foreign competition and investment, which we welcome, but how do we get you guys to lead the way? How do I create that environment?
Yeah, I think as Darshanji pointed out, right, I think China is a great example. Look at what China has done, right? They actually kicked out a lot of the foreign companies, but India is a free country. We don't do that. We don't do that. We encourage everyone, who has talent. So in that context, right, I think the way, Indian data centers, for Indian data centers, I would say there should be a certain policy. Because if you leave it to the market, as you said, you just wait for a miracle to happen, it doesn't happen. You need to implement certain policies, like the way we are taking certain steps and Make in India. I think there is an opportunity in the data center sector as well. Like, for example, you can say, okay, enterprises, governments, etc., you have to store 50% of your workloads or run 50% of your workloads on Indian data centers. As an example, I'm not necessarily saying that it is exactly that how you should implement, but that's one of the ways. And don't do it permanently, but do it for a period of 7 years, 10 years, so that you get a level playing field for the Indian players. Because a foreign company with a significant amount of financial power comes in, and then you can't compete. An Indian-born data center, you do not have access to that kind of capital. So in all fairness, there needs to be certain policies, and also probably government can look at tax incentives in the back end. So if not in the front end, at least in the back end, and stuff like that. So I think there needs to be a certain policy that needs to be created, just like how we are looking at Make in India, how government is looking at Make in India. Similarly, I think Make in India or data centers should be looked at.
Okay, so my appeal to people watching this broadcast, and especially the entrepreneurs out there looking to host, be wary of something also called predatory pricing, right? So foreign companies, they've got trillions in the bank, they come in and they just offer it ridiculously cheap, okay?
Yes.
And the reason they're doing it is because they want to burn out all these Indian players and then dominate the market. This is how it works. We are aware of it, which is why policy on this is required. I see you, Manojji. I'm just coming to you in a second. Sunilji, just come into this, because we have not really begun our 5G rollout, and we don't really understand. I have a few bulbs at home that I say something and they come on and come off, and I think my microwave can do something now and the AC can do something. I'm not sure, but we are not really there. We are about to get there. When it happens, are you then predicting massive data centers or data centers all over the place? The edge part which you mentioned.
It is going to be both. As I said earlier, the data which is going to be ultra sensitive to latency see, for example, a car, which is a driverless car, it cannot even afford to send signal to edge data center and get a signal and then decide whether to move left or right. The AI, ML, and IoT intelligence has to be built in the car itself. Only then the car can drive.
Yeah.
However, majority of the use cases, whether it is a high resolution content being available to the local user right from the nearest data center, whether it is majority of the IoT implementations where sensors are sending something to a central place is doing analytics and doing practically real-time decision making and giving something to the device, has to happen in the cities where the sensors are, where the machines are, and that is where this edge data center will start proliferating, because they will be connected to the end sensors through a 5G, which itself is going to be speed, so it's going to be microseconds of latency.
I see.
However, besides this, there will be the AI algorithms which are actually taking this decision themselves need to be continuously learning and improving themselves to improve their user experience or the end purpose which they are solving.
Yes.
That is where a whole lot of this data which is processed in real time at edge data center will be still moving to hyperscale data center backend for further analytics, creating much better algorithms, and obviously taking a post real-time decision making which need to be taken at a later stage. So it's going to be a huge complementary between the things like you've got tier 2 cities having a lot of edge data centers, maybe a 10 rack or a 20 rack data center, hosting local content, connecting local ISPs, having CDNs, having the internet exchanges, but also connected the backend to the hyperscale data centers.
Okay, so for people watching the broadcast, I can tell you, and this is public information, Sunil Ji's company Yotta is putting in about almost 19,000 crores in creating these data centers in places like very near where I'm sitting in Noida, just on the other side of the Delhi border. So Manoj, you want to make an interjection? Go ahead, sir.
No, I was just talking about the advantages of having a good mix of international players and the Indian players. So if you see the 2-3 aspects I would like to say, when we came to India, we were the first tier 4 data center service provider. In fact, that encouraged many of the international players. Many of the OTTs and the cloud service providers, they set up their first data center POP in our data center, because that's how they got some confidence that in India we have high quality data center, reliable data center, and they can meet their requirement, frankly speaking. And in 2012, we created a data center which is far ahead of many of the data centers that existed at that point of time in India. In fact, these customers then pushed other data center service providers to improve the quality. And today, the India data center market by itself has improved the top notch in the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, that's how the free market works, and that's exactly what we want. We want the best in technology, and that means Indian companies will have to be competitive in terms of downtime, latencies, and all these things will have to work. You'll have to have the best equipment.
It can't be that just because it's
just because it's Indian we're using it. No, that's not the logic. But also it just can't be just because it's imported, so we love it. There's a balance there which needs to be found. Let me get Nikhil in. Nikhil,
one more point I haven't mentioned is about pricing. Actually, it's the other way around that I'm seeing in the marketplace. It's not necessarily that the multinational player would come in and then underprice their services. I don't think it will happen, and I don't think it's happening here at the moment also. So the listeners who are listening it, I mean, they would get a view that, okay, it always helps to have both mix coming in, bringing in the technology in it, and many new things that we in Equinix are going to now start in this country in terms of the Equinix Fabric and other things. It's very revolutionary, very different, just not prevalent in India, and I think that is going to help the Indian.
Okay, so please catch up on what Equinix is doing and bringing in frontline technologies. And yes, what happened in 2012 was important if you follow what's happening in the industry. Let me quickly get Nikhil into this con. Nikhil, I was touching with Darshan ji about what's okay and what's not okay. So let me put on the other hat. What is reasonably okay for government to worry about and say, okay, we are unleashing this data center logic, but we live in a world when the people are more than happy of Google and Facebook having all their data, but don't want to download Arogya Setu. So there is something reasonable and something unreasonable. Where's that line?
So first off, Google and the others, they're all located in somebody's data center. So there is no bifurcation, right? The underlying nuts and bolts is provided by the data center provider, which is one of us, right here.
Yeah.
So there's no bifurcation. I don't think the government should really worry about it. I think there's nothing to worry about. In fact, the government should be, see, if you look at any of the other modern, developed countries, whether it's United States or Germany or anybody, none of the governments actually worry about data centers. So I don't think there should be anything to worry about. In fact, what we should be thinking is, how do we get to the pole position? How do we get to number 1 position? How do we make sure that data centers are at the edge. How do we make sure that the LEOsats, right, which are being launched and we hear so much about them, are interconnecting the edge data centers, and how does that work? So frankly, I think government should not worry about anyone who's actually watched Terminator. Right, they shouldn't worry that there's going to be a Terminator run over here.
Or Skynet. Skynet is not.
Absolutely, I was actually trying to say Skynet, but I was remembering Skyfall from James Bond.
Okay. Every time I worry about robots,
Skynet happening.
Okay, every time I worry about AI taking over the world, I know my home system finds it very difficult to turn on my lights. It requires 3-4 times for me to see it. So I'm not worried about AI taking over the world. But okay, there is going to be a reasonable concern. But I think what Darshan Hiranandani has already said, that as long as it's spelled out very clearly and it's in keeping with global practices, that creates a fair playing field, and nobody is rejecting the fact that there are reasonable concerns. Okay, Sridharji, is there a counter push here? Is the other than normal inflation, are we actually seeing the cost of data centers going up? How are you guys facing it? Per unit cost is coming up, going down. What's happening?
Before I get there,
yeah,
I want to make 2 comments. Number 1, we are not afraid of foreign players coming into India. I strongly believe, it's a fact that our local data center companies are a lot more efficient in building much higher grade, rated for tier 4 data centers, and most energy efficient, and at cheaper cost, much faster, and manage them in a much better way. Then the statistics prove controllers last 14 years, not a single second downtime. Same is the case with many other data centers, which is not the case with many global data centers, by the way. So the Indian data centers need not be worried at all with foreign players coming in. Predatory pricing does not work in the data center industry, because this is not an industry where winner takes all, and it's not an industry where customers will go to another data center because they're giving cheap. So that is not something that we need to be concerned at all. And another thing about your cost of data centers, obviously, yes, the costs are already, I would say, the lowest in the world. Cost of building the data center. What is expensive for us, what can be made more efficient, is by bringing in probably import duties, lower the import duties, and give a tax holiday for some time if the government wants to really promote this industry. Those 2 things which can be done. Manufacturing of most of the components is done in India. Today, I see that almost 90% of components which go into data centers are already being manufactured here. There are a few more components which the government can, facilitate those, some of the chillers, etc., that we import. The government can make sure that, those people are also given the facilities here.
Okay, so let me follow up on that, because and some of the things that are missing, of course, is the high-end chipset. So I've been talking to a lot of the guys who are now developing the first space companies in this country, and hopefully they'll be putting satellites into space by the time next year. Innovation locally within this country, driven by both local and foreign investment. How is that going to happen, Sridharji?
We can simply say that our data should reside in our chipsets, and I'm joking, guys, but we have a large enough market, domestic market, to make these innovations happen. Why did not they happen in the past is, we can leave that aside, but for now, we can definitely, we are in a position to ask our equipment suppliers to come and set up labs here to begin with.
Interesting.
Yes, that will start the industry. How did China happen to become a global manufacturing hub?
Okay, so anything that cuts power usage, anything that cuts latency time, anything that even algorithmic improvements that help less power for amount of processing, all of this is innovation, and those labs can be set up over here. Some of those labs you guys will be setting up and running. Some of the foreign players will be bringing in. Some of hopefully the chipset manufacturers, which I'm sure are very soon coming into this country, will be bringing in as well. Let me take the opportunity quickly, getting Manojji back into this conversation. Manojji, what are the regulatory enablers that you need to see happen? We've talked specifically about imports. We talked about the law. Are there any other specific regulatory enablers that still need to be put into place?
Well, in fact, in the last 2 or 3 years, and more so in the last 1 year, we are seeing most of the state governments being very active, in fact, proactive in interacting with the bodies, with the industry leaders, and coming up with policies which are going to be very helpful. But what we need is proper implementation of some of the policies which get rolled out, and they are a little ambiguous, and the policy says something but the related officer does not really agree with it or something like that, and it really goes 2 steps forward and 1 step backward. So one is get the policies out, but ensure that the policies have proper buy-in and they are properly implemented, so it's a smooth ride for us as far as getting approvals are concerned. But I think regulatory wise, another big important piece is the networks. And in the network piece, we have been talking about dark fiber being allowed for enterprise customers. It's a very simple thing which the government can really allow. All they have to do is tell the telcos, hey, you are a licensed service provider. All we are telling you is that you can provide it lit or a dark fiber. That will really revolutionize the data center industry, because many data centers are coming in the nearby area. You have one data center, gets filled up, you build up another data center across the street, and they need to be connected. And we are facing huge problem because dark fiber is theoretically not allowed. And if that can be changed, that can help. But I think one area where the government needs to give a push is building up of the power distribution infrastructure. I was talking to the Tamil Nadu power companies, and they told them that, hey, you service one data center, small data center company, you get as much revenue as you generate from 10,000 homes. So consider that equation, and then considering that you make an investment into building up your infrastructure to cater to this data center industry, which is going to generate so much of revenue for you. You have to send one bill, get paid on time every time, and all that. So these are the things which the government can nudge.
So it's puzzle pieces. Nikhil, come in on this, puzzle pieces.
I think most important part is connectivity. I think that's the core focus. We are lagging behind on the connectivity, intercity, intracity, intercity connectivity. One is that. One is be ready for all the growth that is going to come and happen at the edge. So be prepared. That's part of 2 things. And build up a great ecosystem for us to develop and to make sure that your data moves through smoothly.
Okay, it's about connectivity, and that's going to be really important, because the data center these guys are building, obviously, what's going to happen next. So what is that going to be? Sunil ji, why don't you just come in for a second? What's that going to be? Do we need the fiber cables? Do we also need more undersea cables connecting India to the rest of the world, literally creating a cloud space?
It is both, actually. There was a time when majority of the Indian data center, data was hosted abroad. I'm talking about early 2000s and all. And that one, the dependence on the international undersea fiber was huge. All the Indians used to actually access that content. With time, I would say majority of the enterprise data has already come and got stored in Indian data centers in whatever co-location, hosting or cloud model. It's already being done.
I see.
But some of the bigger content, the social media content, which is people like you and me as consumers access, is still hosted outside. So from that point of view, the international connectivity is still important to access the content which is hosted outside. Also, there are NRIs. There's a huge Indian population out there in the world who need to also access the content which is pure Indian native content which they still want to access. There's a huge Indian IT industry out there which actually access the servers of their customers abroad, and they have to manage those servers. So international connectivity for sure, for many, many reasons, is obviously important. But with so much of Indian content coming in Indian data centers, with localization will possibly leading to, data protection will possibly leading to a lot of localization further. It is going to be the terrestrial within India linkage that is going to be much more important. That's what I think all the speakers are talking about. Whether it is connecting all these hyperscale data centers to each other, because a lot of traffic travel between them, connecting these data centers to the network hubs of the main telco operators like Jio, Airtel, Tata and all, connecting them to edge data centers, connecting them to CDNs, connecting them to internet exchanges. All this is going to be very, very important so that the content is reaching the end user, whether it is a person or a device or a sensor.
So I mean, look at it this way. It's become ubiquitous that you can get a fiber optic line in most of major cities, right? I mean, we have to think of data every time you plan a road, you plan a sewer, you plan a water pipeline, electric pipeline with it. Obviously, a data pipeline has to be part of it. Yeah, finish your thought, Sunil.
Yeah. So this fiber is connecting all these hubs, the edges and the central data centers. But the last mile, as we understand, India possibly missed the last mile broadband. Most of our lives, the last mile is 4G, which possibly will get replaced the 5G, because taking the fiber to every home and street was so very difficult in India. So which is great. That is possibly the reason that why we are so well connected, that 4G is in the hands of every single person. So it is going to be removing the bottlenecks of a wireless network at the last mile for consumer, and also having a fiber connecting edges and the center data center.
Okay, that's an interesting point, because there are lots of things that have gone wrong with in wireless, from in policies, spectrum policies and reversals, and we've not had the best of network, but it's getting better, thankfully. Yeah, Nikhil, quick interjection, and I want to get in Kalyanji back into this.
Yeah, just a thing to add to the subsea part that you actually asked. The best part over here is, see, we were at a balance, you have balance of trade, we have a balance of data problem. We used to pull more data, and today we should be reaching, you should have a balance of data solution, right? So imagine UAE, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Nepal, all our neighboring Southeast Asian countries, right? We used to actually have fiber all the way running up to UAE and then going up to North America and pulling data from there. It will be reverse as soon as our data and content is moved into India, and if all of this local is working, right? Imagine we will have our own TikTok, and those guys will be consuming our TikTok.
I mean, we already have it. I mean, look at this coup that is founded now. It's got about 10 million users, right? So and it's going to go global eventually. So it makes sense. Okay, Kalyanji, you've spoken about the duty cuts already. So let me ask you specifically. The server chipsets, right now we're being told that there is a global chip crunch. How does that affect you? And if we can truly literally make the 7 nanometer chipsets here in this country, is that going to be a game changer for you guys, or that's it matters but not so much?
No, it does matter quite a bit. Actually, I think, so one is, I think we talked about the cost reduction if it's available here. So obviously all those customs duties, etc., all of those will significantly come down, and it will reduce. I mean, one example, you can look at, a server manufactured in, for example, a Taiwan or a Shenzhen, the same server sold in US compared to India is 30-40% cheaper. Same thing with the networking here, right? So why? So that will automatically, reduce if it is local. The second is time to market, right? Today, if you order, especially because of chip shortage and all, and sometimes other challenges, and sometimes, hard disks not being available, etc. So the delays, I mean, you look at, on an average, right? If you look at 6 to 8 weeks is the minimum to fulfill from order to cash, right? We can reduce that by half, exactly, to bring it down to 2 to 3 weeks if it were to be available in India. So time to market is going to be very, very important, because especially when you have these demand surges, having these equipment available locally.
Okay, it's going to cost $6-7 billion to create that infrastructure in India, to build the chipsets. And Darshanji has just told us that converts into, just in the data center space, maybe a 2 lakh crore opportunity. I'm not talking about, selling us laptops and mobile phones, just in the data center space. So investment there will be rewarded. Now it's about who's going to make that investment quickly. Okay, we are short of time. So Darshanji, wind this up for us. In the near future, 1 year later since we last had this conversation, we've come a long way. You guys have come a long way in the amount of projects that you've announced. Hopefully, fingers crossed, enough vaccines are out there to look after us. And thanks to all you guys and the telecom players also, that none of the data services went down during the past 2 years. Imagine what would have happened if our data centers or our telecom capacity had gone down. So now, sir, looking ahead, what are the 4-5 things we need to get into place?
Well, honestly, we just need the personal data protection bill in place. We have the government with the right mindset, so they want to do things, and with this government, where there's a will, there's a way. I'm optimistic. Further, I'm optimistic in our Indian talent, ability, entrepreneurial capability. Over the last 20 years, real estate was hard to do, but builders built IT parks like there was no tomorrow. People innovated, created fantastic software services and multi-mega billion-dollar companies, and created lakhs and millions of jobs in India. We'll do the same in the data center space, as long as, one little STPI tax holiday created a game changer in the IT space. If we just get that in our data center space and infrastructure status, we will manage the rest, and we will convince the power companies, we will convince the fiber companies, and if we can't, we'll do it ourselves and we'll make it happen. So Indians will find a way. So I'm very, very optimistic. Localization happens and government is even non-interfering, if not helpful, this will still be a smashing success.
Okay. just think of the number of people within the government setup who can enter and on something shut down the space. Now, data centers don't work like factories. You can't shut down for 2 days and start 2 days later with just a production loss. That 2 days means you lose all your customers. So we need to, number one, make sure that the number of people that can just go in and claim a violation or interpret the law differently and shut down places, that needs to come down. We've sort of encapsulated that we are producing the green energy, providing it to the data centers is of core importance, because that's what the customers are asking for, and the customers at the end of the line are also you and me. Number three, when we are making large infrastructure projects, the highways that we are building at a crazy pace, 50-60 kilometers a day, we need to provide for those data pipelines. Connectivity is a major thing, both power and fiber, both internal and of course eventually external. And if we just do this and add the spicing on top, which means we can manufacture those GPU grade 7 nanometer chipsets here in India, which utilize less power, get the cost competitive right. There is no reason why not in South Asia but globally this is a future market we can dominate. Think of all the 30, 40, 50, 60 years, guys, when we struggled because we didn't have oil. Now we are saying data is the new oil. We have all the puzzle pieces to dominate this because we should. And this is a huge opportunity for our engineers, for employment, and for all your companies that are starting out there. It's been a fascinating conversation. I'm hoping this is not the end of it, but we have educated people who are watching this and we made them more excited about this space, which was all this is all about. So my thanks to Darshan ji, Sunil ji, Nikhil ji, Kalyan ji, Manoj ji and Sridhar ji.